Hello and welcome to another video. On our climb to 2000 elo, we play e4, our opponent plays e5, knight c3, the Vienna. Let's see how our opponent responds. Yeah. Okay, d6. Is this a particularly threatening move? Not really. I'm just going to go ahead and play f4 here. We're going to give up this pawn, get a knight on f3, break in the center, and snatch the pawn back with our bishop if our opponent allows. There is this queen h4 check, but g3 deals with that fine. Doesn't bother me. So our opponent plays bishop g4, pinning our knight. I'm going to go ahead and pin their knight. I could play h3 and exchange like this, but then my opponent would have knight d4, attacking the queen and the c2 pawn. And we saw this in our last game. I would then have to drop the queen back to d1 in order to take care of both threats, because otherwise I'd be hanging this fork on the king and the rook. So if I can pin this knight first, then once I make this trade, there is no knight d4, and everything is kind of taken care of. We can only play h3 like this and go for this exchange when there isn't already a knight on c6, unless it is pinned, in which case we're fine. Again, if our opponent takes here on f4, then we can look to kind of make a break in the center and everything would be good. Okay, this looks dubious. I see my opponent's point. They want to take, attacking the knight. The knight is pinned to the queen. Were I to move the knight somewhere, then I would drop the queen. But I can also just recapture with the knight here. The other thing is you're just opening up your light square diagonal a little bit too much, I think. And if I capture here and here, you can't recapture back with the knight because it's pinned. I think I just want to... I mean, fine. d3, you capture. I'm taking back like this and all is good. d3 makes a lot of sense. So does d4. Honestly, so does castling. Just castling is fine. Do this. Take. Here. Capturing this. Honestly, I think I could just probably castle here, but d3 is the other move I'm considering. Let's play d3. I'm not worried about any of these threats. They're all very easily dealt with, I think. And if they capture here and I play here, the bishop can't come down to check my king because they've already played d6. That could be annoying otherwise. If the pawn was here and it went something like pawn takes on e4, knight takes on e4, the bishop would come back to check, then I'd probably have to return the knight and takes. I'd be doubling my pawns, or alternatively I would play bishop d2, and after bishop captures, queen captures here. And I'd have these stacked pawns. But then I could capture here and kind of replace the pawn. Alright, so time to make some decisions here with the bishop. I don't like the idea of freeing up this knight. If I come here and they play here and I have to rock the bishop back to b3, well then I allow this again. And that's too much pressure on this pin piece. So we'll trade, damage my opponent's pawn structure slightly. Yes, they might get the semi-open b file for their rook, but that's okay. We're castling kingside anyway. And yeah, just get my queen out of this pin and look to start making some breaks. Maybe I should have even taken here, because if I can pull this pawn away, you just get double isolated pawns here, and that's rather nasty. Whereas now if my opponent captures, I capture back on f4. This pawn structure is a little bit better than what it would be if I had captured here. Maybe that was the move. Maybe I rushed. We just take here, they take back. You've got these horrible doubled isolated pawns and an isolated pawn here as well. But this I also really like. I'm ready to check here. You know, I kind of take, then I check here. You play g6, I take, you take back, I win the rook. That's a nasty little tactic. If you capture here, I mean, honestly, I could maybe even just leave the piece, take here, win it back next turn. All right, so what I said really is I think quite nice. This, but then you play knight f6, right? But then I play here, and your knight's kicked. I think we're going to go here and just go after this light squared diagonal, because our opponent isn't castled. They're unlikely to castle queenside because of this pawn structure and the open b file. That would be horrendously unsafe. So if you want to develop the knight here, I can play this and kick the knight. Then I'm infiltrating on h5, and if you block with g6, I just take that pawn. And if not, your king is going walkies. And I think we're going to see this right now. Okay, so my opponent throws in this check. I could interpose like this, but then after captures, that is still nice. But then I don't get this idea. And I kind of like this idea. So I'll give my opponent this. It's probably not the best way to play, but I just like the look of this idea. Okay, so now obviously I don't have queen h5 check because my opponent's queen is here. But they're just going to lose a pawn and give me this nice set of pawns on the E and F file. And this isn't threatening anything. I mean, maybe if your queen were here and your bishop were here and you were staring down like this for mate, but that wouldn't work anyway. I mean, worst case scenario, I just interpose with my queen and we make a queen trade. But now there is no bishop d6 because you've just allowed me to capture on e5, so my pawn covers this. And now these pawns are going to be a little bit monstrous. I mean, what would be really nice is if I could get this move in. I play here and I hit both the queen and the rook. I could just also advance the pawn. That's pretty nice. Again, I could also play g3 and just, you know, kind of kick my opponent's queen and say, what are you doing here? But I don't like the idea of loosening this structure. I don't really need to, is the point. So I'm looking for advances here. I'm just getting my bishop out. You know, I go here, we trade. And I'm kind of, I mean, where does this knight develop to, you know? So what, you're going to come out here and then come here? So I go here, here, here. My opponent's knight plays here. I could also just offer a queen trade. And if they trade queens, great. And if not, I'm coming over here. I think let's just trade pieces down. I'm up 2 pawns. These pawns are a little bit killer. I'm now connecting my rooks. Okay, yeah, so I saw this forking idea, but it doesn't quite work because I can just drop the bishop back to g1, and if you capture, I'm capturing your bishop back. And yes, you're then maybe winning a pawn, but after rook b1, that's going to be pretty dangerous. And now if you don't capture, well, I just have this. Okay, fine, now my opponent just gives up a piece. Very kind of you. And if you capture back with the queen, I'm saving the knight and getting in here, so I don't know why you've just given me the knight like that. Yeah, I probably should... I should probably wait before I introduce concepts like this at this level, but I mean, why not? You're gonna have to see stuff like this eventually. So why not now? All right. Now I think we just jump the knight out of danger. Where's best? Here or here? Knight's on the rim is dim, but I am attacking the bishop, and that would force the bishop back. And then I could just win this pawn. And that looks quite nice. But also, if my opponent is going to get any attacks going on my king, it's going to be here, isn't it? Let's face it. So let's bring the knight over to help defend the king. And maybe at some point even play bishop to f2, attacking my opponent's queen here. I am also still attacking the bishop, so the bishop needs to drop back. Only this time I'm not, you know, getting in here and winning pawns. Let's just play this slowly. If I play... Once they move their bishop, if I play bishop f2, attacking the queen, then I can play bishop g3 and take this nice long diagonal, and that's just lovely. Okay, so my opponent leaves this, presumably for some attack here, but it doesn't work. You know, if you attack here, I'm just taking back like this. I could also win a tempo on my opponent's queen first, then take here. I guess if I play here, takes, but then I win the free piece. Let's win the tempo on my opponent's queen. Let's kind of ask my opponent what they're going to do about this, and I will happily indulge in this trade. I don't actually have a rook f2 because if they do go for a queen trade, then then the bishop still sits on f2, but I just simply have either rook g1 or bishop g3. What I'm talking about is, let's say they play queen g4, captures, I capture here, and they double up their rooks, threatening to take here. Well, then I would have g3, bishop g3, or rook g1 to counteract this threat of taking here. So after my opponent drops the bishop back, I think we'll just win the free piece. Now this is hanging, and this is hanging, and this does not work. You know, everything's perfectly safe. It might look a bit scary, but there's nothing to worry about just yet. And so they resign. Yeah, I would say that's a pretty resignable position. Allowing this fork probably wasn't the best idea, but this is fine. And what I was thinking was, if my opponent takes it and I capture back, they might take here. And yes, they kind of get this, which is nice, but there's no way to immediately defend this. The queen can't really get in here to defend because of the placement of my bishop, and now I've just opened up the back corridor to your opponent's king. And if I can stack my rooks here, then you know that's pretty severe. That is a little bit of an advanced tactic, kind of baiting this, but this is one situation in which it works, and a fork that appears to be a fork is actually not really as much of an advantage as it otherwise would be had I not had a resource like that. I would just be losing a piece. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the game. Let me know in the comments what you like to play as black against e4, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Take care.